The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the high school campus as students lingered after their extracurricular activities. The sound of laughter and chatter filled the air as they packed up their belongings and headed home. Mark Dela Cruz, a diligent Filipino-American honors student, was in the library's back room, finishing up preparations for the upcoming debate club event. His mother, Irene, always reminded him how proud she was of his achievements, though she worried about the pressure he placed on himself. Mark, in turn, was determined to excel, knowing the sacrifices she made working 2 jobs to support him and his younger siblings. As he carried a stack of posters toward the main hallway, he realized he'd taken a shortcut through a section of the school marked as restricted. It was an area under renovation, cordoned off but easily accessible through a propped-open side door. Mark hesitated, considering turning back, but decided it was faster to proceed. He had walked this path many times without issue. Officer Raymond Carter spotted Mark from the corner of his eye. Carter, the campus resource officer, was known for his intimidating presence and no-nonsense approach. His reputation for being overly harsh with students, especially those from minority backgrounds, had made him a divisive figure among staff and students alike. Today, he was particularly irritable, having dealt with a series of minor infractions that had tested his patience. "Hey, you!" Carter barked, striding toward Mark. "What are you doing in this area? Can't you read the signs?" Mark turned, startled by the officer's sudden appearance. "Sorry, Officer Carter," he said, shifting the stack of posters in his arms. "I was just taking a shortcut. I didn't mean to cause any trouble." Carter's expression darkened. "A shortcut? This area is off limits for a reason. What's so important you couldn't follow the rules?" Mark's brows furrowed, his polite demeanor faltering. "I'm on my way to put up posters for the debate club event. I didn't think it was a big deal." "Not a big deal?" Carter's voice rose, drawing the attention of a few students nearby. "Rules apply to everyone, including you. Or do you think you're special?" Mark shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't mean it like that. I'll go back if it's such a problem." "Not so fast," Carter snapped, stepping closer. "You don't get to decide when this conversation is over. What's your name?" Mark's jaw tightened, but he complied. "Mark Dela Cruz." "Figures," Carter muttered under his breath. "Always an excuse with you people." The comment stung, but Mark held his tongue. "Look, Officer Carter, I'm not trying to cause trouble. Can I just go now? Disrespecting an officer now, huh?" Carter's eyes narrowed. "You think you can talk back to me?" "I'm not talking back. I just want to go," Mark said firmly, his frustration mounting. Before Mark could react, Carter's temper flared. He grabbed Mark by the arm, yanking him back. When Mark instinctively pulled away, Carter's fist connected with his face in a swift, shocking motion. Mark stumbled backward, his posters scattering across the floor as a sharp pain radiated through his cheek. The impact left him dazed and disoriented. A collective gasp rippled through the small group of onlooking students. One of them, Sarah Phillips, a junior and aspiring journalist, had been recording the confrontation on her phone from the moment Carter raised his voice. Her hands trembled as she continued filming, capturing every detail of the officer's violent outburst. Mark clutched his face, his voice trembling with disbelief. "You hit me?" Carter's expression betrayed a flicker of regret, quickly masked by anger. "You resisted. That's what happens when you don't follow orders." Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. "I got everything on video, Officer Carter. You just assaulted him." Carter's head snapped toward her. "Turn that off now." "No way," Sarah shot back. "Everyone's going to see what you did." The students murmured in agreement, their phones now pointed at the scene. Carter, realizing the tide had turned against him, stepped back, his jaw clenched. "All of you, disperse, now." But the damage was done. Sarah's video began circulating among students within minutes, spreading through group chats and social media like wildfire. By the time Mark arrived home, his mother was already fielding concerned calls from other parents. When Irene saw the bruise forming on her son's face, her heart broke. She wrapped him in a protective embrace, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm so sorry this happened to you," she whispered. "We'll make this right." Mark nodded, though his mind swirled with conflicting emotions. Anger, fear, humiliation. "I just don't want this to happen to anyone else, Mom." The following morning, the video had reached local media outlets, drawing attention from journalists and activists. Mark, encouraged by his friends and family, agreed to share his story publicly. He spoke about the incident during a press conference organized by a local advocacy group, his voice steady despite the cameras and microphones aimed at him. "What happened to me isn't just about one bad officer," Mark said. "It's about a system that allows people like him to abuse their power. This needs to change." Meanwhile, Principal Gordon Hayes found himself in an increasingly difficult position. The school's reputation was at stake, and parents were demanding answers. Though Hayes initially hesitated to take a strong stance against law enforcement, the overwhelming public outcry left him no choice. He issued a statement condemning Officer Carter's actions and pledging to cooperate fully with the investigations launched by both the school district and the police department. Under mounting pressure, Carter was placed on administrative leave, pending the outcome of the investigations. The news brought a sense of vindication to Mark and his supporters, but they knew their fight was far from over. In the weeks that followed, Mark's story became a rallying point for discussions about racial bias and police brutality in schools. Community members organized town hall meetings inviting students, parents, and educators to share their experiences and propose solutions. Mark and Sarah were at the forefront of these efforts, using their voices to advocate for meaningful reforms. One evening, as Mark prepared to speak at another community event, Irene pulled him aside. "I'm so proud of you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You're turning something terrible into something powerful. You're making a difference." Mark smiled, his resolve strengthening. "I just want to make things better for everyone, Mom, for the kids who come after me." The momentum of the movement continued to grow. Students across the city organized walkouts to demand safer school environments and accountability for misconduct. Advocacy groups amplified their efforts, calling for the removal of officers like Carter from school campuses and the implementation of alternative disciplinary measures. Months later, the investigations concluded. Carter faced formal charges of misconduct and excessive use of force, his career in law enforcement effectively over. The school district announced new policies aimed at fostering a more inclusive and supportive environment, including bias training for staff and the establishment of a student-led oversight committee. Mark, though still healing from the physical and emotional scars of the incident, emerged as a symbol of resilience and courage. His story inspired others to speak out against injustice, proving that even in the face of adversity, one voice could spark a movement. As he walked across the school campus one afternoon, posters for the debate club's upcoming event in hand, Mark felt a renewed sense of purpose. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but he knew he wasn't walking it alone. Together with his community, he was determined to build a future where no student would ever have to endure what he had, and where justice and fairness would prevail.